Show continues. The racing continues. 3 races remain on this final Saturday of 2024 from the Big A. Alongside handicapper Jonathan Kitchen, Aqueduct's all-time leading jockey Richie Migliore. I'm Laffit Pincay. Richie, how much do you miss riding on days like that?
I don't miss riding that much on days like this. If it was a little foggier, I would miss it because you can get away with a little bit more. But no, days like this are work.
Hear no evil, see no evil kind of jockey Richie was back in his day. So, yeah, a sloppy track here. Naturally, JK, part of the story yesterday was how the track was playing. Horses, jockeys wanted to be inside. Through the first six races on this afternoon, what have you noticed?
Well, I mean, yesterday I made the comparison. When you talk about a biased racetrack, you can compare it a little bit to walking on the beach, right? Some of the sand that has moisture in it's a little bit easier to walk in. Well, if it rains all over it, it all starts over. It's a completely different situation. So I think you just play the horses you like. Don't think too much about what happened yesterday.
Okay, that's Aqueduct. Oaklawn has canceled. We'll have much more on that a little bit later on, but canceled is the remainder of the program at Oaklawn after one race. Today's race is brought to you by Claiborne Farm, 100 years doing the usual. Unusually well. As promised, late pick 3 Aqueduct starts in moments, included the 46th running of the Alex M. Robb Stakes. For New York breds, field for the 7th. Aqueduct, first level allowance, 7/8 of a mile. A lot of rain this morning, sloppy track. Get you the field updated odds with Vitriano towards the bottom, number 11, the 5-2 current favorite. Let's meet the field starting with Magnificent Mile, number 1, a busy campaign, 14th start of the year.
Yeah, drawn down towards the inside. Has a bit of tactical speed in the last race, but that kind of came out of nowhere. A bit of a concern with this type of weather.
Forest City, American Oaks winning jockey Johnny Velasquez.
Yeah, also 2 wins on the card already for Johnny Velasquez, and a horse that has run well and off-going.
Trust Issues, Kentucky Invader.
Yeah, has some speed, and from an inside post, should use it.
Antonio of Venice, number 4, 3-time stakes winner at Aqueduct.
And was in a cutthroat speed duel last time, had no chance the way the race is won, gets Lasix, and probably a different scenario. I think he's a player.
St. James, unraced since Wood Memorial Day.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem fast enough for this group.
Currently 43-1 and outside of that, number 6, Lock-In Key, hasn't faced open company since August of 03.
Yeah, but got back to the dirt last time, turning back and delivered maybe the best race of his life.
Paxational, number 7, Quick Colt, has won 2 straight at long odds.
Yeah, at long odds, and it makes me not trust him quite. He got loose in both of those starts. I don't think he'll get loose here today.
Number 8, Peak, claimed in Kentucky by Linda Rice. She's done very well with those claims from Kentucky.
Yeah, this horse is stepping up into a very tough spot here. He's going to have to move forward.
Looking for Peak out there somewhere. Linda Rice owns and trains. Move on to number 9, Certified Lover Boy, a tough beat November 15th.
Yeah, a reclaim for Ray Handel. He had this horse previously. I always like when a trainer goes back in to get one they lost.
Skylander, number 10, has won 2 straight with that jockey, Dylan Davis, who I promise you'll see.
And just in really good form right now, and Rick Dutrow, hottest trainer on the grounds.
Eventually, we'll see Skylander. How about the favorite, Vitriano? Outside speed, perfect, 3 for 3 at Aqueduct.
This New York bred had a couple of races that made you think that the Allen Jerkins made sense when they tried it. Didn't go well, but ran into a very fast pace that day. Without a doubt, in my opinion, the most talented horse in the race.
2-1 favorite, Vitriano. Then Ari's Magic on the extreme outside. It's been a struggle since his debut maiden win.
Yeah, and he just has not run as fast as the majority of this field. Would have to really improve.
Late pick 3 starts here. Race 7, Aqueduct, post time in about a minute as we welcome Maggie Wolfendale to the broadcast, standing by trackside, braving the elements. Her first broadcast since December 15th. Maggie, something tells me you're going to be just fine off the bench.
Yeah, I was in England, so you're welcome. I brought this weather with me, fresh off the plane. I mean, this is like a natural habitat for me today, but yeah, we're dealing with a very wet, sloppy track. It's like that kind of track that almost changes horses' colors when they take all that kickback, because they all end up looking about gray when they reach the quarter pole and if they're behind. So we'll take a look here at your favorite, Vitriano. Now, he does have some early speed to clear off, possibly, though it feels like there's some others in here that could be close to it. But we'll see how he's handled by Manny Franco, who does typically act aggressively with his horses. Now, I will say this. He's a horse that does not necessarily like to switch his leads. He's reluctant to switch over to his right outside lead. He was listed as a vet scratch back on November 30th. I am noticing some corrective shoeing on his right front as well. He has some equilocks. Looks as though there may have been a quarter crack. So while he's a horse that pedigree says he should be A-okay over this wet surface, as he has never run on it before, I'm a little bit concerned about that right front. So we'll see, right front foot, I should say. He looks fantastic otherwise, as he is your current 2-1 favorite. Now, the horse I'm going to take here is one that I've always kind of been a fan of, and that's number 6, Lock and Key. He does run with those cheek pieces yet again here, but the switch back to the dirt did the trick. He did get some pace to close into, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does get at least a little bit this time around too. And he posted a big figure, best of his career so far, and he looks phenomenal. I love when you see a best effort and then the next race, it backs it up. Like they're thriving, like they're doing better than ever. And that's exactly what I'm seeing from Lock and Key. We'll see how he negotiates a wet track. It's another question mark for him as well. Now, Linda Rice does send out Peak in here as a big price on the board, but I do like when Linda shows some aggressive nature with these types of horses, stepping him up in class. He looks phenomenal here for Linda. I feel that this is the right condition. This is the right distance for him at this 7 furlongs. And while he's one that has run over a wet track, finishing 3rd, I'd be willing to give him another shot over it at a big price. Lafitte?
Out to trigger the upset, Peak 20-1. Vetriano JK is not the favorite, 9-5 at post time.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is the only 2 other horses that I think are at least a little bit interesting are the 4 and the 10. And at 4-1 and 7-2, it's not enough for me to get off who I believe is the most talented horse in here. Maggie makes a bunch of points about possibly some issues that might have happened with the shoeing, but just give me the most talented horse. I think this horse can run, and I like the draw for him on this racetrack. Richie?
Antonio Venice for you.
Yeah, I just thought Antonio Venice had no shot the way the races won last time. Was an out cutthroat speed duel. He returns getting Lasix for the first time, and Joe Rosario, so I think you'll get a more patient tact.
As we look at Skylander, Dylan Davis since taking over. Back-to-back wins, looking for 3 straight. That outside post, Skylander, what do you make of his chances?
He's in good form, though. Right?
Yeah, no, I like him. I just don't like his price. And you got to like his trainer. We'll talk about, I'm sure at some point today, Rick Dutrow has been on absolute fire to start this meet or through this entire meet. Out of 30 starters so far, a little bit more than that after yesterday. But yeah, I just don't. I just need a little bit of a better price to try to get off of this Liam's map. Remember, Deterministic, a Liam's map galloped on this racetrack that looked just like this. I know it's not that simple, but it's just me saying something before they get in the gate.
Looked like a Derby prospect earlier this season. Vetriano, the favorite, steps forward for Brad Cox. It is post time for the 7th. Live from Aqueduct on Fox Sports 2. Here's Chris Griffin.
Ari's Magic to the outside. Last to load. Goes in. All set. And they're off. Ari's Magic has early speed. In between horses, there's Paxational. Paxational sprints clear, is up by a neck. Here comes Vetriano to join this leader, is doing it on his own, and Vetriano to apply pressure now takes the lead. Far apart, but Vetriano is in front, is now ahead in front of Paxational 1-2. Ari's Magic broke with leaders, just taken back to 5th. Pass towards the inside here from Certified Lover Boy, and also Antonio Venice is in that mix, and at the rail, Trust Issues. They battle for 3rd and 4th. Progressing is Skylander, who's now taken the 6th position, and behind that is Ari's Magic losing some ground. Lock and Key is far back with Magnificent Mile. The 3 back markers, far back end of the field. There comes Forest City. Looks like Ari's Magic is being pulled out of the race there, east towards the back end. Peak is with those trailers, and also going to be another one running from the back there, St. James. Vetriano still in front, 45.42 for that half-mile time. Vetriano is the leader. It's Vetriano who approaches the top of the stretch. A host of pursuers in behind. Trust issues at the rail. Antonio Venice is now in the clear. And here comes the oncoming strides of Skylander down the center of the racetrack. It's Skylander in pursuit of Vetriano, who's still in front. Has about a length and a half margin. Skylander catching with every single stride. The far outside Magnificent Miles got some late momentum, but these two duke it out here for a final 16th. Skylander's taking the lead. Skylander pushing on by. Skylander. Dylan Davis will get the victory. Vetriano second. Lock and Key for third. Then Magnificent Mile finished fourth in 1 minute 23.47 seconds.
Make it 3 straight, Skylander, all with Dylan Davis in the saddle. A second win on the afternoon for trainer Rick Dutrow. And yeah, those numbers, the stats, off the charts.
It's been outstanding, and you have to play the hot hand. But I will say this: in racing, I think that we're results oriented. I feel good about the fact that I took the 11 here. The 10 just wasn't that much better of a price. The 11 just got a little tired here. Did a lot of the dirty work, ran early. The 10 ran well. But the thing about it is, too, is I think the 9-2 is probably a little bit short because Rick Dutrow is so hot. People are paying attention to that. You probably deserved a little bit of a better price if you were on the 10 here.
Yeah, Vetriano was a little bit keen down the back. You saw Manny Franco trying to get him to settle down, and he was just really aggressive. And Skylander drawn just inside of Vetriano, but still towards the outside, was able to work out that nice trip. And we have a completely, obviously, different track than yesterday because of the sloppy conditions, because they're winning from any place today.
10-11-6-1, solid effort. Lock and Key, who Maggie liked to complete the trifecta. Skylander, were you expecting Vetriano, Richie, to offer a little more resistance when Skylander came to his throat latch?
You know, when you saw Skylander making his run, turning for home, he's coming off of mile races. This is 7 furlongs. It's going to intensify his closing kick. So when he was in calling distance coming to the 8th pole, it seemed pretty much a foregone conclusion he was going to run down Vetriano.
And they ran. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean, it's tricky on a racetrack like this to really know what's going on. Is it packed down? Is it not? But, I mean, 110 going 7 furlongs, they're running. They're running.
They're running. See how many goggles Dylan Davis has on there. Probably about 5 today on a muddy track. You don't want to run out of goggles, that's for sure.
Yeah, that might not be enough. 10-11-6-1, Skylander, Dylan Davis in the 7th of 9 on this final Saturday of 2024 at Aqueduct. And in case you missed it, yesterday's feature at the Big A. Rail is where you wanted to be. Dylan Davis knew it, stuck to it, and it paid off. Stonewall Star, victorious in the Bay Ridge. We'll recap. Welcome back. America's Day at the Races is always brought to you in part by Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Visit NairaBets.com or download the Naira Bets app to get started. Get signed up if you haven't. Flavia and Pratt, lots to smile about these days. Get involved. Take advantage. $200 deposit match. Earning up to that $200 deposit match. Sign up. Use that promo code BONUS200. That $200 deposit match after your first deposit. Any track, anywhere, anytime. Join now at NairaBets.com to earn your $200 deposit match. About Skylander, Dylan Davis. 3 straight for Skylander and Davis in the cockpit for each of those victories, and the winning pilot standing by live with Maggie.
Here with Dylan Davis. And Dylan, you're just saying, I only had to go through one goggle because I actually was outside, but I just wanted to make sure I could see Manny.
Yes, Mag. I just wanted to break well. He was the speed of the race. He took control early. This type of horse, you need to break him well, but let him get into his stride nicely. He's cutting back from the mile, so I just wanted to make sure I was in a good striking distance from that leader. And he actually picked the bridle up there around the 4.5 before the turn, and I was feeling really good about it. Just a little bit wide from the 11 saving ground. Just keep my eye on him and just get that momentum around the bend before he takes away, and just run him down there. He was a tough horse to catch, but we were able to catch him. It was nice.
Yeah, I got a nice pace to close into, and a horse that's really thriving right now. But speaking of horses that are doing well, you'll be riding El Grande O coming up in the Alex M. Robb next, and he is a horse that has gone 2 off the break and is heading into this one in really good form.
I'm excited. Yeah, he's doing great. I just thought I'd let him do what he wants to do out of the gate. He showed a lot of speed last time into the sprint, so stretching out. So I think that he'll probably be forwardly placed. So just trying to see what other guys will do, but just trying to keep my mind on him and see what he likes and get his rhythm going. And after that, we'll figure it out from there. But if he does, he could go be inside, outside, wherever he wanted to be. He's going to get a finish strong. So just keep him happy wherever he is, and then make that big run.
He seems like a horse that has a lot of heart too.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he's good. He really tries hard down the lane. You could tell when I start asking for more, he gets a little bit tough on me, and his ears go really back, and he's fighting. But he's a cool horse to ride.
Well, wishing you the best of luck. Hopefully, same result as yesterday too with Stonewall Star.
Yes, hope so. Thank you.
All right, Dylan Davis picking up another win here. Well, before he goes south, Liffey.
South for the winter, the remainder of the winter to Florida, doing a lot of damage meantime before he splits. Dylan Davis, 3 straight Skylander, and we'll see if El Grande O can make it 3 straight at the upcoming Alex M. Robb. And that confidence riding high, winning that race right before the stakes race. That's coming up next, post time in 17 minutes. New York breds here, a mile, $100,000 purse, no surprise with El Grande O. Wow, that is a little surprising. 3-1 with Bank Frenzy, the 3-4 favorite. Alex M. Robb coming up next. Richie, first, the name of the race. What should our viewers know about Alex M. Robb?
Well, Alex M. Robb was the original executive secretary of the Thoroughbred Racing Association, which ran racetracks in New York at one time. And then onto the Westchester Association, he was the secretary-treasurer there. And then when the tracks consolidated into the New York Racing Association, he was tasked with really kickstarting the New York Thoroughbred breeding program. So it's very fitting that a New York bred stakes race is named for him, because he was really the guy who got it all started in the 60s. Now, the program, I don't believe, really took off until mid-70s, late 70s, and really took off to what it has become today. But he is the man that really started it.
What a legacy. His name honored today. Alex M. Robb Stakes coming up. JK, from a handicapping perspective, looking at the race on paper, what jumped out at you first?
Well, and there's 2 things. I mean, I think the 2 favorites are the most likely winners. Obviously, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. El Grande O stretching out. I don't think that'll be a problem for El Grande O. And then the 7 Bank Frenzy is the other obvious horse who's 2 for 2 on a track listed as off. I think people get a little carried away with that. I think that just because a horse is won on a sloppy racetrack, not all sloppy racetracks are the same, especially when you go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But it feels like one of these 2 is going to get the job done. They have complementing styles, too. One's a little bit more forward. One's going to come from out of it. So no, whether it's fast or slow, it's going to work out great for one of them.
Alex M. Robb is next. And while the rain has fallen all morning and all afternoon here in New York, same can be said out at Hot Springs, Arkansas. Oaklawn Park, there was a 10-race program scheduled. one race was contested. The remainder of the program canceled. Rain falling heavily here. Richie, there was some lightning as well for viewers that tune in and are wondering, why today? We've seen so much racing over the years at different tracks all over the country where a wet racetrack and rain falling doesn't impact the racing itself. What, in some cases, might lead to this, the cancellation of an entire program?
Well, obviously they've been inundated with this rain and inclement weather there, and the fact that they ran one race and then there was a long, obviously they were having meetings, there was a long delay before the official announcement that they had canceled, leads me to believe, and this is speculation on my part, that the riders just were not comfortable with the racetrack. And a lot of times when you get this amount of rain, it's because there's inconsistencies in the racetrack. If a track is heavy and it's heavy all the way around, fine. If it's sloppy all the way around. But when you have spots that are a little bit different than other spots and horses, will bobble and bog down and riders aren't comfortable. And it's, the way we would do it here in New York is we would ride, have a meeting, and then the guild representatives would go to management and say, we're not comfortable with the track. We took a vote. Majority rules. Now, a lot of times there may be a rider or two that thinks, hey, I got a favorite in $130,000
Does that get contentious,
race.
those conversations?
Oh, it could get really heated in that back room. But ultimately, the way it works is the majority rules. And then somebody, usually it was me, the spokesperson, would go out and say, majority said we can't ride. Even if I felt different, you don't go and point fingers and say, well, he wanted to ride and he didn't want to ride. You've got to be together on that front. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. But, listen, riders are motivated to ride. They do not make money if they don't ride. It's not like other sports. They don't have a contract. They get paid regardless. There's a rain out. No, if they don't ride, they don't perform, they don't win, check looks a lot smaller at the end of the week.
Mick, how often did you vote not to ride?
Well, there were days it was bad, and I did vote not to ride. I remember late in my career, there were two instances where I voted that, guys, it's uncomfortable, it's not unsafe. There's a big difference between uncomfortable and unsafe, right? Winter racing is not always comfortable. But I was voted down at one point, I think it was like 18-2. I was one of the two that wanted to ride. So I go out and I made the case to the management and stewards that the riders unanimously voted. I didn't say I wanted to ride. The next day, one of the riders that was most vocal in the room about canceling, I walked up on him telling the trainer it was me that wanted everybody to cancel when it was absolutely out. So that day I went into the room and I made an announcement to everybody. Anytime you have a meeting, I'm not a part of it. If I like it, I'm going to ride. If I don't like it, I'll go home. Now, I was at a point in my career that I could be a bit more independent, and me and that rider, we had some words.
So pretty much the same way you interact with your colleagues here now that you're interested in television.
I think I'm very nice with you guys.
Racing canceled out at Oaklawn Park. They did have a couple of days canceled last year. They made up some of those races, and we would imagine the featured tinsel will be rescheduled before long. Any official announcement, we'll go ahead and pass that along. Meantime, while we're getting ready for the Alex M. Rob here, this was the story yesterday in the featured event, the Bay Ridge Stakes, and Stonewall Star Dylan Davis had the inside post. That's where he wanted to be. A sluggish start perhaps could have cost Stonewall Star. It didn't. Nobody occupied the inside. Dylan Davis moved up the rail, and she wins going away.
And he didn't have to send her up there, Jonathan. He allowed her to go there. And the fact that they left the rail wide open for him on a day when you definitely wanted to be inside, she also delivered. She ran big, Stonewall Star. I think that she was going to be a handful anyway, the way she ran. A homebred for Barry Schwartz. His farm is Stonewall Farm up in Mahopac, New York, so Stonewall Star. So always nice to win a big race. It has to be twice as satisfying when it's a horse you've bred and raised.
Absolutely, and you talked about the racetrack, and Stonewall Star was right up in there. And there was a couple of long shots behind. I'm drawing a blank on the numbers, like maybe the 4 and the 3. There were also big prices that stuck down on that inside, which is the big indicator to me. Not Stonewall Star running well, because that horse made sense, but the horses, the long shots behind that ran well on the inside.
Barry Schwartz owned her. Stakes winner yesterday also has El Grandeo coming up next, the 47th running of the Alex M. Rob Stakes as the rain continues to fall. And the favorite, Bank Frenzy. There he is. What will he do this afternoon? Make it the second choice now, 2-1 with the Alex M. Rob next from Aqueduct.
The sun shines bright on Caraconte. His first crops of racing age are showing brilliance on the racetrack with a high percentage of stakes winners. His versatility is evidenced by winners on all surfaces across the globe.
Spandarella could not have been more impressive.
She feels more than pretty. She feels fantastic.
It is all she feels pretty. The sun shines bright on this value sire. Caraconte, standing at Gainesway.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
Idiomatic in front, 16th to go in the Juddmonte colors. Florent Giroux aboard. Idiomatic to win the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster.
Taking the lead. Clarion trying to squeeze through, but it's going to be Idiomatic to win.
And Idiomatic just opens back up here with every stride. No catching. Idiomatic winning the Juddmonte Spinster for Florent Giroux.
Curlin, the classic sire.
Welcome back. Dark, damp Saturday afternoon at Aqueduct. This is America's Day of the Races. Great to have you with us. Time for the second stakes race of the afternoon. 47th running of the Alex M. Robb Stakes. El Grandeo pictured 8-5 now, seeking a third consecutive victory. Dylan Davis looking to go back-to-back on the program. 8-5 favorite, 8 minutes out. Maggie in the paddock. El Grandeo. Maggie, what's he showing you?
All the right signs, Lafitte. This is a horse that I kind of wondered when he first came back, and then Linda admitted to me after he won in that comeback race, I was a little concerned too, because he kind of had a little bit of a belly, and was he fully cranked up and fit enough? Turns out he was, but she also expressed to me that she thought a little bit more ground would be preferable. So I was kind of maybe not shocked, but just questioning it a little bit when he came back at the 6.5 again. But he says, I like this. But still, I'm not doubting the fact that he can get this mile, and he just looks more solid, more fit than what he had appeared previously. I like what I'm seeing from El Grandeo. And two, he's just a horse that kind of, I think, thrives on racing. And this is Linda kind of striking when the iron's hot too, because she knows she has a horse that is in really good form. Next, we'll move on to another admirable 3-year-old New York bred. That's number 5, Doc Sullivan. He was one that came back last time as the beaten favorite in that Stallion Series race, but encountered the mud, and he's encountering that again today, where he just kind of was out sprinted early, and then when he got the kickback, he started climbing quite significantly. He tried to go back up the rail, and he just kind of stayed on evenly throughout. While the winner did come from last, it was a race that featured a very hot pace. So we'll see what Doc Sullivan does getting to this wet track again. What I like is he's a horse that, remember going back to Saratoga when it was Belmont Stakes weekend, and he completely lost it in the paddock. Now, he still went on to win that day, but a horse that is actually quite calm. You know, he's been a little bit cantankerous to get the tack on in some of his subsequent outings, but seems as though his last 3, he has been really kind to his handlers and has allowed them to get the tack on. So we'll see what he does today. Do I like him more than your favorite El Grandeo? No, but again, I think he should be respected. Lafitte?
Only 10-1 in the Pennsylvania Derby, facing the likes of Seize the Gray, the Preakness winner, Doc Sullivan. El Grandeo, pictured. 9-5 the favorite. 1 of 2 for Linda Rice. His most recent 22 days ago, right here in an allowance sprint, Richie, El Grande stalking, pouncing.
Yeah, he's a horse with natural speed. He settled just off the pace, came with that nice run. Now, 2 for 2 since returning from that layoff. And I agree with Maggie. He's a horse that has a big barrel. He carries weight. And your first impression when you look at him is like, ooh, man, he maybe he's not quite as fit as he needs to be. That's just him. I mean, even looking at him in the paddock just now, I was like, he's carrying a lot of weight.
That's just El Grande El, who is the favorite, 8-5 for this Alex M. Robb Stakes. They're playing our song. Call to post. We'll meet the field. New York breds going a mile, 3-year-olds and older, $100,000 purse. There's Colloquy, currently 9-1 drawn inside.
Ran extremely well on a sloppy racetrack last time, but got a huge setup.
Whittington Park, 8-time winner.
Beautiful son of Midnight Loot. All horse, runs well for Carmouche. He wants pace. He likes to make one run.
11-1 Whittington Park. Then the favorite, El Grande O here. First start in a stakes race since running third in the Gotham.
Yeah, a couple races going 6.5, but it doesn't worry me. This horse has some races going longer. He'll be fine.
Maggie liked what she saw. There's Doc Sullivan.
Yeah, Doc Sullivan, another one who I think can run well in here. Needed that race last time off a long break.
Olympic Dreams, 5 of 6 career wins here at Aqueduct.
Really nice horse. I think he's better around 2 turns. 1-turn races seem a little sharp for a horse that's more of a grinder.
LSU Stables, Bank Frenzy. He's a threat.
Stealing this from Mig. This horse runs much more, has a much more early pace on sloppy racetracks. Thanks, Mig.
Sheriff Bianco, 2nd and 2 for Linda Rice.
Yeah, listen, I certainly prefer El Grande O or other runner, but horse has got a really good draw, and he's a very honest kind of individual. He would be a bit of a surprise, but we've seen the other horse from trainers run well in the past.
That we have. Let's see if that trend continues here in this Alex M. Robb. 3 minutes out, circling back to Bank Frenzy with Manny Franco. This was his latest, late November, right here in the mud. He was odds on that afternoon, JK. Bank Frenzy was last early, hard-ridden, and rolls late.
Yeah, and this horse, he's got that ability. He kind of takes back and makes one run, but I joked about stealing it from Mig. I really did, but this horse does show a little bit more pace, a little bit closer in racetracks like this that are sloppy, and so maybe he'll be a little bit closer here. I hope he's a little bit closer here for his sake, because El Grande O is definitely the horse to beat who does have that tactical speed. I don't think you want to let him get away from it.
No, but to me, that's the tell with Bank Frenzy, that he's fond of off-going, not just the record. The fact that there's been times he's shown more speed, that he's actually gone even to the lead. And last time, he made a long, extended middle move. I mean, he was about 5 wide around the far turn and had the lead before the quarter pole and continued. He's going to be a handful. He's also a horse that runs with an extension blinker on the outside. He has a tendency to want to drift out. Those horses can be a little tricky in the starting gate. Manny Franco knows him well. The gate crew knows him well. They've got to be looking down the racetrack square. Otherwise, they'd miss the break because that eye that's encumbered with that blinker doesn't see the start.
And just watching that last win, you wouldn't describe him as that push-button type. Like Manny Franco really had to work to get him to find that best stride.
Well, he's a horse that takes a ride. In all of his races, he's that way. There's more there, but horses are like people. Some are extremely generous, and some keep a little for themselves. And, some you have to motivate a bit more. He's a horse that takes a bit of motivation.
It's kind of like Lafitte.
To Maggie trackside.
Well, continuing on the conversation with Bank Frenzy, as you guys were talking about a horse with that extension blinker, but he's worn it several times now going forward. So he looks great. Honestly, he's sporting the same summer tan, if you will, here nearly in January that he was going back to the summertime. So I like what I'm seeing from him in that respect. Warming up well, very, very fit and defined. But that's how he usually is. So he's clicked over to favoritism, but like you guys said, he was somewhat reluctant to kind of get his feet underneath of him at the beginning of that last race. Same conditions here, mile over the sloppy racetrack. He was much the best that day. I think this is a pretty salty group of New York breds. He does have the age factor a little bit over, the likes of Doc Sullivan and El Grande O, but I just feel like El Grande O is just doing so well. So I'm going to take a shot with him at 9-5. Lafitte?
Some of those key 3-year-old preps leading up to the Wood Memorial last winter and spring. Richie El Grandeo, who was second in the Jerome, second in the Withers, beating a nose, third in the Gotham. Those races at this middle distance. So he comes back and he's sharp in sprint races. Linda Rice said she wasn't concerned whatsoever about distance. She says he can be just as effective at a mile. He can be just as effective at a mile and an eighth if necessary.
Well, he's already won at the mile distance. I question the mile and an eighth. I honestly do. But I think a mile is no issue for him whatsoever. We know off racetracks are no issue, and he's in really good form. Interesting side note, actually rode his Damn Rainbow Song at Hollywood Park.
Wow.
For Patty Gallagher, won with her the first 2 starts of her life.
The one thing I'll say when it comes to El Grandeo about the distances is when he ran in that, look, when you have a good horse, it's a 3-year-old, everyone starts dreaming about roses in the Derby, so you try some of these spots. He ran well enough in the Jerome around the 1-turn mile, and then he tried the mile and an eighth, but he did it with a pace that was pretty honest. And a horse that can stick around going a mile and an eighth on an honest pace, to me, I stop questioning whether or not they want to go that far. Maybe he doesn't want to go a mile and an eighth, but I think the mile is going to be just fine for him.
I thought he had that race won and really shortened stride late. That was my impression, my take on it. But a mile, I think, is perfect for him.
Biggest adjustment as a rider on days like this, from this point right here, getting set to load into the starting gate and what takes place during the actual running of the race?
Well, you see all the riders, right? They've already got their goggles down. They keep on putting their hand up to their goggles. What they're doing is letting air under the goggles, so your goggles start to fog, right? The horse is throwing heat off them. You're in a confined space, so you're constantly trying to make sure that your vision is clear, and then setting up your goggles so if you are behind horses to easily pull them down quickly. Doc Sullivan's last race was much better than it looked. He did not handle the kickback whatsoever, and it was a very sharp pace. That kickback comes back even harder, lost complete position, and I said, well, he was done. And then when I watched the race finish, wow, he was a streak coming on again. He found his stride again, and I don't think he's going to get as much kickback as he was inundated with last time.
Impressed Maggie in the paddock as they continue to file in these New York breds. 47th running of the Alex M. Robb Stakes. It is post time. Chris Griffin standing by.
Bianco. Goes in. All set. The Alex M. Robb. And they're off. Sheriff Bianco has speed from in between horses. Also right there, Doc Sullivan. And down towards the inside, here's El Grandeo moving forward. El Grandeo wants to be up with the pace, but outside is going to be Doc Sullivan, who's quicker. Doc Sullivan is now a length in front. It's Doc Sullivan who's going to bring them out of the chute and hook up with the backstretch. El Grandeo is followed by Bank Frenzy towards the outside in the yellow. Then comes Olympic Dreams, just lost a spot. As moving forward, here comes Sheriff Bianco to secure 4th. That's going to push Olympic Dreams back to 5th. Just in behind them, Whittington Park and the early trailer, Colloquy. They're chasing Doc Sullivan on the engine, and Doc Sullivan went 22.73 for that opening quarter mile. A pair in behind as El Grandeo travels right there with Bank Frenzy as they approach 4 furlongs left to go. Now shoved along as Sheriff Bianco from 4th is still about 5 off the leaders. Olympic Dreams is losing ground. The 2 back markers, Whittington Park and Colloquy, start to pick it up as they went 45.3 for that half-mile time. Doc Sullivan is still there. It's Doc Sullivan well into the turn. Here chasing is El Grandeo. Bank Frenzy out wider. Sheriff Bianco has dropped down towards the inside. Wants an inside path to chase this leader. Doc Sullivan and Jose Lescano, they're still well clear, and they reach the top of the stretch. And now Doc Sullivan's trying to put this one away. Doc Sullivan, Sheriff Bianco just weaved towards the outside now, got off the rail. Bank Frenzy is trying to rally on. Doc Sullivan trying to find a final furlong, finding his best stride as Bank Frenzy down the center of the racetrack, though. And here comes Bank Frenzy, who is drifting but chasing. Doc Sullivan trying to gut it out for a final 16th. Can Bank Frenzy get there? Doc Sullivan, Bank Frenzy. It's going to be a photo finish. Bank Frenzy to the outside, Doc Sullivan in a photo. Then came Sheriff Bianco and Whittington Park. 1 minute 36 and 4 in the Alex M. Robb.
Thrilling edition of the Alex M. Rob with Doc Sullivan trying to steal Bank Frenzy, lengthens his stride and picks off the front runner in the shadow of the wire.
It was so weird. From the 16th pole home, I thought for sure Bank Frenzy was going to win the 7-horse on the outside, and that was the closest for sure he was going to win I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, you could see right here, right, when finally Doc Sullivan got over his right lead, I thought he might find a bit more.
Yeah.
But Bank Frenzy was relentless. He was under a ride for a long ways out. Looked like he wasn't gaining. Now he's going to get him. Doc Sullivan dug in, tried to fend him off, just couldn't quite last, and a heartbreaking defeat for Doc Sullivan and anybody who wagered on him at Bank Frenzy. He found a way to win when it didn't look to me turning for home. He could get there.
Strong handling. Manny Franco, that's what it takes with Bank Frenzy. We'll say in the glare of the wire. Bank Frenzy over Doc Sullivan, those LSU stable colors. We saw him in the winner's circle, Far Bridge at Saratoga, and the Grade 1 Sword Dancer, another stakes victory here. Bank Frenzy and the connections, how proud you have to be of those types of efforts. And a horse that just refused to lose on this afternoon.
Oh, you got to be over the moon. This horse was, to me, running in place, turning for home, and Doc Sullivan looked like he was kind of giving him the slip. But that's what he does, right? He drops his head, and he just keeps coming at you with this relentless style. And he had the right rider for sure. Manny Franco. Some riders ask, some riders demand. He demanded.
His will, strong finish. Manny Franco, Rudy Rodriguez teaming up. Bank Frenzy in the Alex M. Rob. El Grandeo off the board, 7-5, 8-2. What a finish. Doc Sullivan in front. Where's the wire? In the end, too much Bank Frenzy in the 47th running of the Alex M. Rob Stakes. Welcome back. America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. Coverage, as always, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years doing the usual, unusually well. Content you're looking for, those images Horses frolicking in the snow. As long as that truck stops backing up at some point. Nothing was stopping this guy in this afternoon, though. Bank Frenzy, Winner Circle Lead-In, brought to you by Basic Tipton Digital, North America's #1 digital platform for thoroughbreds. Learn more at digital.basictipton.com. To Maggie in the Winner Circle.
With Randy Sarf of LSU Stables. And Randy, a horse that has done very well for you guys since you purchased him. He just keeps clicking off these New York bred wins.
He's awesome. He's awesome. You know what? He's just an awesome horse. You know, and what's special about him is he's a state bred, but his mom and dad are from Kentucky. Yeah. So, you know, he's in the state bred program. But you know what? In the future, we may take a shot to see, you know, if he could run with some of the big boys. But he's a really good horse.
And you joked, Rudy Rodriguez, spending the holidays in Aruba, and you needed Bank Frenzy to get him off the Aruba duck.
Yes, Rudy has been 0 for 14 since he's been in Aruba.
Glad to know you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention. I'm at the barn every day. But the horses all look happy. They miss him. They miss him. And you know what? I spent a little extra time with Bank Frenzy to make sure they thought Rudy was there. But he's a really good horse. And you know what? It was a good race. Manny rode him great. And we got lucky again.
I feel like, you know, sometimes you watch him and he runs his races kind of differently in some ways, because last time he took a while to get into the race, then he circled the field, and today you had a tough customer on the front end and Manny stuck to him and he was determined to get there.
So determined. And his biggest problem is in the gate because he gets nervous when he stands around. Yeah. A lot of horses do get nervous when they stand around. But once he gets out of the gate, gets positioned, he can run. He really can. Great horse.
I'm sure for you guys, it's so fun to watch him, and congratulations here.
Thank you very much. You have a great day, Maggie. Thank you.
Randy, Larry's lurking in the wings here, but a very, very happy team with Bank Frenzy today.
That has to be the greatest excuse for a trainer on a cold streak ever. Horses just miss me.
Yeah, but the funny part about it is he's on his AirPods down there racking up international minutes. And I can hear him right now say, no, I mean, I can hear the whole thing right now. Rudy, you're not fooling me.
Larry Sarf with Bank Frenzy this afternoon. El Grande, any excuses? What did you see? Not the same horse we've seen in his first two races in his comeback.
I think he threw in obviously a subpar effort, but one thing that is very intimidating for a horse, when you've got a horse the size of Bank Frenzy outside of you and you're the one caught in between, chasing a loose on the lead Doc Sullivan, it's not the most comfortable position. And I said to you around the far turn, JK, when he got that neck on him, you know, El Grandeo's in trouble because a horse sees that it shrink a little bit. You know, it just puts him in a really tough spot.
And you've talked about this before. It's like you don't want to invite those types of horses in the race. It's not the time we usually talk about a horse being on the lead, but Bank Frenzy never had an advantage in that race. He had a horse who had a better closing kick, a horse that had more stamina, lapped to his outside the whole way around there. So how in the world was he going to outkick that horse home?
No.
Manny Franco, another stakes win here at Aqueduct in the Alex M. Robb Stakes. We've also grown accustomed to seeing jockey Flavien Prat win stakes race after stakes race all season long. What a year 2024 for Prat, one he'll never forget. Multiple records shattered. The latest 2 days ago, cross country at Santa Anita. That's next.
Introducing Peace and Justice, new to New York in 2025. A proven sire with 200 winners. 16% winners lifetime, and one of only 2 New York-based stallions to have a graded stakes winner at Saratoga in 2024. Now, with 3 different racing surfaces coming to New York, and with New York breds running for equal purses as open company, Peace and Justice is the sure choice for 2025. Peace and Justice, now standing at Irish Hill and Duchess View Stallions in New York.
Enhance your handicapping with AI Fast Facts, exclusively on NYRA-Bets. Open your NYRA-Bets app, click View Runner Details, and a stat-driven fact will appear for all U.S. thoroughbred racehorses. Download the NYRA-Bets app to start using Fast Facts today.
RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. True odds, predictive analysis, and pace projection. RaceLens. It will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level.
And they're off in the Curlin Florida Derby. back after 3 quarters in 112-1. Known Agenda is now on to take over the lead. It's Known Agenda for St. Elias Stable. Florida Derby winner, Known Agenda.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Flavien Prat has always been a top rider in the country. But since moving his tack to New York in 2022, he's taken his game to new levels. Nowhere was this more evident than this year's Saratoga meet. Although he didn't win the riding title, he still had a record-breaking summer. The 32-year-old set records for most stakes wins with 18, most graded stakes with 14, and 7 Grade 1 victories. With 16 total Grade 1 wins and over $35 million in earnings, can Flavien Prat wrap up his first Career Eclipse Award in 2024?
King of Gosford a length and a half to a Tietlin, and Stay Hot on the outside is finishing with a flourish in third, a 16th to go. King of Gosford clinging to the lead. Stay Hot gives him one final try. We salute Flavien Prat aboard King of Gosford to win the Mathis Mile. His 56th graded stakes victory, an all-time record for Flavien Prat.
Most in a year. 56 graded stakes victories for Flavien Prat, Richie, breaking the record previously held by the great Jerry Bailey.
Well, I mean, right there says it all. Look at the company that he's keeping. What an accomplishment. And the fact that he could have stayed in his comfort zone, dominated Southern California, ridden the favorite in almost every race in small fields, and said, if I'm going to be a champion, if I'm going to be recognized as a champion, I've got to go looking for big game. And he found big game, and turns out he's the biggest lion in the jungle this year.
We were wondering, JK, how he would fit. We always knew he was talented, but riding it at Saratoga, his first summer 3 years ago, how would he fit in? How would he compete with the best riders and strongest, deepest jockey colony in North America? Now here we are 3 summers later. Prat, amongst other records broken, the most stakes wins in a single season in the history of Saratoga.
Well, I think you said it, in his 3rd season being at Saratoga full-time. So that was what put him over the edge. And to be able to step into that room full of monsters and find that next step to be able to break the records he broke, that's the most important and the most impressive part to me. He didn't do it in his comfort zone, like Mick said. He didn't just get really hot at Santa Anita and Del Mar and stay in California and pop over to Keeneland and Belmont for a couple of stakes here and there. He said, I'm going to take everything I have, I'm going to go somewhere else into the teeth of those riders in that room, and I'm going to break a bunch of records while I'm here.
And I get
See
it,
you guys
Richie,
next year.
there's more racing at Saratoga than ever. There's more stakes racing, but still.
Oh, no, it's an unbelievable accomplishment. Again, you think about the history of the game and all of the great riders that became before him, and you said it yourself, Jerry Bailey being the benchmark with that record, now him to have it solely. And his agent should not be left out of this equation, Brad Pegram, who, I mean, it's when you got a rider as popular as Flavien, I think the art of being his agent is how do I turn somebody down without upsetting them, right? I've just won on your horse, but I've got this horse, and I don't want to close this door. There's certainly an art to that. I think, Ron Anderson is one of the best at it. Obviously, Brad Pegram's one of the best at it. And the inroads that Flavien made, particularly into the Chad Brown barn over these 3 years that he started doing this, is, I think, what pushed him over the top.
Yeah, but he was also winning claiming races for Linda.
No, I'm not
No,
saying
no, I'm
just
not saying.
strictly
I'm saying that,
yeah.
but like that, the fact that when he started to do that, I was like, oh, this is he's making he's making ends into New York, and I also think it's important too that like he did it into the teeth of one of the most sensational runs we've seen of a rider in Irad Ortiz as well, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like Irad was out of town
point.
or something. He did it into Irad still having an outstanding meet as well. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't think we should lose sight of the fact that Irad had another sensational year. I mean, this is over 10 years in a row. He's won at least 300 races every year. That's just mind-boggling to me. But you know what? We're very privileged in New York because we do have so many talented riders.
World-class riding colony, and congratulations to Flavien Prat. Single-season record, most graded stakes victories ever by a jockey, 56. Meantime, not a graded stakes race coming up, just a New York-bred maiden claimer. Post time in about 7 minutes. Marvelous Richard pictured. Can he graduate in his debut? Welcome back. America's Day at the Races. You're on Fox Sports 2. Coverage is always brought to you in part by Hilladale. Atalapa. New York-bred maidens, 2-year-olds, sprinting 6.5 furlongs. Maggie's in the paddock, and Maggie, this first-time starter we're looking at, Marvelous Richard, live on the tote board.
Meg, tell me how much money you had on this guy. I mean, of course, name for you, right? I joke, but I was a little shocked to look up and see that Marvelous Richard was a favorite, at least, somewhat early on here in the wagering. And he's a horse that I admit actually kind of caught my eye walking in here. I literally wrote pretty decent, expecting him to be 20-1, but then I looked up and he's 2-1. Okay, so yes, he is well prepared. He's about 90% fit. He's very laid back here in the paddock, wondering if he'll need a start for that, proverbial light bulb to go on for him. And there's still some more physical development. There still needs to be a little bit more strength behind overall, but I'm not doubting the fact that there could be some ability with this guy. Just don't know if we're going to fully see it first time out here, especially over the wet track. Now, moving on to a horse who does have a bit of experience and turning back and making his first start for Amelia Green, who's gotten off to an auspicious start in her training career, is number 6, Romeo Void, who will turn back in distance. Now, let's not forget that this horse was favored against not favored, but took money against Bold Fortune first time out in a maiden special weight race. He's huge. So I'm not exactly sure with the turn back if that's going to suit him. He was also rather rambunctious here in the paddock. Lafitte rearing up, had to be saddled with the pony. The good thing with that is that at least he's sharp for this cutback to the 6.5.
Keep an eye on him as we get closer to post time. Post parade, you saw Marvelous Richard, more on the first-time starter in a moment. Danziger, you saw as well. Then Resistance Feudal, pictured at 29-1.
Yep, 29-1. Makes sense to me.
Number 5 is One Vision, who just couldn't seal the deal when expected to last time.
Yeah, this is a horse that I think is live in here. Has some nice figures, consistent, has experience as well on a sloppy racetrack.
Number 6, Romeo Void, first start for trainer Amelia Green.
Yeah, we'll see how this horse takes to the slop and with the turn back.
Keep an eye on him as he warms up. Then King Spirit here, flat-footed start in his debut.
Yeah, didn't break particularly well. Didn't take a lot of money that day either, but one you could give another shot if you were looking for a price.
Now, Rocked Out would be a big surprise.
Yeah, I'd be knocked out if Rocked Out got it done.
That's why you're Marvelous Richard. Number 9 here. Book It with a Dot. Horacio de Paz with runners that'll break side by side.
Yeah, broke extremely poorly last time, but ended up kind of running okay towards the end. An interesting alternative.
Cada Dia Mejor, first-time starter. Every day is better. 11 MG Dash out. Classic Ruby in. 63-1 outsider.
Yeah, just has not run particularly fast to date.
Vamonos, vamonos. A couple of scratches, and this contender draws in.
I love it when there's a Spanish name, Lafitte, and you're here.
You live for it.
It's my favorite. I will say this. The one, this horse is not going to be favored in this race. He's 7-2. He's creeping up. I think, in a race like this, where there's $51,000 bet, if you're new to this game, it's a pari-mutuel game, right? So the money that's bet on these horses is what changes the prices. Someone made a large wager on the one. That person could be brilliant, could also be an idiot. You never know.
Man, come on. It's the name. I had to bet it.
So you don't think it's smart money?
No, it could be. 100% could be smart money. But it 100% could be a very wealthy human being who's betting on his son's name, who's Richard. You never know. But I'm telling you, all the other pools do not indicate the same love and affection for this horse.
In this case, as a handicapper, now how are you handling this? Because you can't ignore the action the first-time starter is taking.
Well, I think you just wait a little bit, let the money catch up. Like I said, I think in the doubles, this horse is the 6th or 7th choice. And that pool is closed because it started in the previous race. The closed pool money is the money that I trust the most because it's a closed pool. This one will still be open for the next, 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
You prefer Richard, right? To Rich.
No, I absolutely do not. I'm not that formal. Richard. No, I feel like I'm in trouble if you call me Richard.
You're good with the Marvelous part, just not the.
How about Marvelous
Richard.
Mig? Let's go with
Marvelous
that. Okay?
Mig. That, Maggie, that does have a ring to it.
I totally agree, and I also agree on not having that name formality. I loathe Margaret. That's why you never hear it. But that is my real name. As we will take a look here at number 4, Monomoy Beach, a second-time starter who was green in the preliminaries, but also a bit green running. It's always a good indication. That's why I like to talk about it and how they're behaving first time out, because you'll often see that reflected during the running of the race. But he also ran pretty well. It was kind of a merry-go-round race where experienced Papa Polly P got the jump on them, and that was all she wrote for yet another Rick Dutrow horse. But Monomoy Beach was also a bit heavy on that occasion, kind of typical of Michelle Nevin's first-time starters. He is way more fit having that race under his belt. The problem is he's still acting like a fool in the paddock and out on the racetrack. But also you could couple that with the fact that he had a little bit of speed first time out. We might see more today because now he knows what's going on. Now he should know what his job is, and as sharp as he's acting, he should be more a little bit more forward than what he was first time out. So look for him to be a possible pace presence at 7-1. I'm going to go with number 13, Vamonos Vamonos, a horse that I've liked in the past. I liked him last time, though he was the beaten favorite when dropping from maiden special to a maiden 30, but that was against Open Company. Now he gets to do it against fellow state breds. He ran a decent enough figure that day. He looks great overall, and he kind of proved me wrong because I ultimately had written him off as a horse that won a distance, but his form would prove that otherwise, and he looks great here. Maybe Rudy can cap the late double here. Lafitte?
Would also be a double for Katie Davis, so you're all on Vamonos to take down this nightcap.
Yeah, we put a lot of weight on this Vamonos. Katie riding very well. Great ride yesterday on Sunday Girl for Dave Duggan. Staying to the inside. Nice win early today for Lolita Shemengal. And I like the outside draw for a horse that I think will be sitting a decent trip.
I could have picked the 9, but doesn't show a lot of early speed. Not something I love on a racetrack like this. I could have picked the 5, but the horse is the favorite in a race that I felt like was wide open, so I defaulted to the 13. I'll tell you right now, I do not like the 1, and that is the strongest opinion I have in this race.
Is Chris a Chris or a Christopher? I was going to hand it off to a Christopher Griffin, but I don't know if he's a Chris or a Christopher.
I think you can roll the dice there.
Yeah? We have a Richard, we have a Margaret, we have a John, and maybe a Christopher Griffin with the call of the 9th and final from Aqueduct Live on Fox Sports 2.
Post-time field loading here for the 9th and final. Here comes Book It with Haddad. Resistance Futile. Monomoy Beach. Cada Dia Mejor. Monomoy Beach going forward. Here is One Vision. Classic Ruby. Romeo Void backing away. One of the grays. There's Vamonos Vamonos. It's going to be Romeo Void. Vamonos Vamonos. Last 2 to load. Just both a little hesitant and acting up One Vision. Romeo Void. Vamonos, Vamonos. Last to load. Goes in. All set. And they're off. Speed immediately from the outside, and Classic Ruby. Classic Ruby out towards the front, and also in the early mix, here comes Marvelous Richard at the rail. Has some early speed with Monomoy Beach in that early fray, and these 3 across the racetrack. One Vision in behind them is shoved along from 4th, and passing to the outside from 5th is Vamonos Vamonos. Also on the move, here comes Rocked Out, and Rocked Out just got passed in the blue cap by Cada Dia Mejor. In behind them, it's under drive, is going to be Romeo Void as a mid-pack. From the back, Book It with Haddad is trying to pick up some ground. Also right there, Resistance Futile towards the far, far back. That's King Spirit. It's going to be at the back end of the field there as they're well into the turn. The leader in between horses is Classic Ruby. It's Classic Ruby in front. Here comes the strides of Vamonos Vamonos towards the outside. Losing some ground is Marvelous Richard at the rail, is back there in 4th. Also with some momentum comes Cada Dia Mejor. As they get set to reach the top of the stretch, they drift well off the rail, and the leader is Vamonos Vamonos. It's Vamonos Vamonos down the center of the racetrack. Book It with Haddad is rolling on the grandstand side. Book It with Haddad with all the momentum. Cada Dia Mejor is in that range as well, but it's Vamonos Vamonos, and here comes Book It with Haddad. Joel Rosario gonna push on by. Book It with Haddad from well off the pace is inside the final 16th. Book It with Haddad is your winner. Book It with Haddad over Vamonos Vamonos. Then came Cada Dia Mejor. And also Classic Ruby trying to hold off the oncoming rush there from the outside. Final running time, 1 minute 19 seconds flat.
In the darkness at Aqueduct, Book It with Haddad. Joel Rosario graduates in his 4th career start.
Yeah, it looked like we were going to get Vamonos home, and I think the weight.
All that weight.
All of us picking Vamonos, and here comes Book It with Haddad dropping in class. A horse that you said if you knew we all picked the 13, Jonathan, you would have went with the 9.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love closers on a racetrack like this, but I will say this, though. If you look at the 9, when he's coming down the stretch, I'm sure we'll catch one more replay of it. If not, watch it on Naira Bets. Look how clean his chest is, Richie. He comes into the picture here. Joel kept him in the clear. He didn't eat a bunch of kickback.
No, he didn't. I mean, he's for a horse from coming from off the base. Look how clean he is. A real nice effort, and Horatio De Paz having a really nice meet.
On the stakes race yesterday?
Yeah, he's doing a really good job.
Horatio, one of those guys that you don't see him often on the cover of magazines or the cover of the Racing Form or whatever, but he is an outstanding trainer and one that can do well with a good horse.
Marvelous Richard, do any running?
He's still running.
Showed speed, was on the lead, and got tired and stopped.
Off the board, had a 97-1 shot to complete the superfecta, and we have a carryover, yes?
Ooh, Lafitte.
Book It with Haddad.
Let's see.
6,
I
10, 13, was that?
believe we do. The 9 paid 5 of 6, $575. We will have a carryover. I won't say the exact amount, but like I said, check that out on NairaBets.com.
That'll work.
Tell you, Lafitte, it was great being on with you, Lafitte, Alexander Pinkai III.
From now on, every time.
John Kinchin.
John, he prefers John.
Bernard.
Margaret.
If anyone was wondering. Margaret.
You're a Bernard. And Bernard Francis. Richard Francis.
Richard Francis. But like I said, maybe I should have taken up writing books. You could Dick Francis. I mean, it's
For John, Richard, I'm Lafitte. For Margaret as well. Thanks for joining us here on Fox Sports 2. Exciting day of thoroughbred racing. Again, tomorrow, that pick 6. It'll make the last Sunday, the last day of the year of racing in 2024 that much more exciting.
Yeah, well, me and Margaret are going to be on Talking Horses in the morning, too.
She's going to come up here and get the hell out of all
You started it.
And she could. Yeah, pick 6 for tomorrow's program. Winding things down here in 2024. Next week, we will be at Oaklawn Park on site for the Smarty Jones as soon as the calendar turns. Richie, it's always exciting. Those 2-year-olds become 3. And it feels like everything in racing, the focus is on that road to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, it's like that roller coaster. We get to the top, and now it's all about Triple Crown.
That's next week, the Smarty Jones. Thanks so much for joining us here at Aqueduct. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow afternoon as we wind things down here. Exciting day of thoroughbred racing, that Alex M. Robb. And just an exciting stretch duel in the end with Bank Frenzy able to emerge victorious for the LSU stable. Strong handling Manny Franco, 4 trainer Rudy Rodriguez. Bank Frenzy in the Alex M. Robb. 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Aqueduct and hopefully Oaklawn after canceling on this afternoon. Plus that pick 6 carryover here at the Big A. Have a great night, everyone.
The only colt ever to win 3 one-mile Grade 1s on dirt. Ran the fastest buyer of the year. That's him, 6 wide, streaking clear.
Here comes Cody's
2 more Grade 1s at 7/8. Here's his 4-go, also running a 112 bite. That's 5 Grade 1s all told. No other son of Sire of Sires Curlin has so many. They say, be careful what you wish for. We agree.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
They come on for the finish in the Pilgrim Stakes. Annapolis by a head.
It is Annapolis in front. It is Annapolis to win the Coolmore Turf Mile.
Baker, who's still a nose in front. Carew is lifting late as well. Better Lucky Than Good at the rail. Better Lucky Than Good. Carew, Better Lucky Than Good wins the finale.
Welcome to Adelphi Racing Club's unparalleled partnership experience. Exclusive access to the backstretch at Belmont and Saratoga, premier accommodations on race day, and of course, experience excitement like no other. Contact us today to get a taste of the Adelphi difference.